Efficiency, environment and sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Vishal for the welcome address.
Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ajay Tiwari, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Power. Mr. Abe Bakre, DG, Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Mr. Milind Diore, Secretary, Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm and good morning to you all. Welcome to the conference on consumer-centric approaches for e-cooking transition. Today is World Environment Day, but it's not just any other World Environment Day. Today is also the 50th anniversary of World Environment Day. In 1972, the United Nations Conference on Human Environment in Stockholm decided to recognize June 5th as World Environment Day. That was the first ever UN conference on environment. India played a seminal role at that conference, both in shaping the agenda and in formulating the discourse. That conference would go on to formulate the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Kyoto Protocol, among other things. But as we gather today here for the 50th anniversary of the World Environment Day, it's also important to recognize that all of us bear the burden of the world's activities on climate and our own impact on the environment over the last half-century. The space for experiments and pilots, ladies and gentlemen, has shrunk. This is the moment. It is now or never. It is time for decisive and transformative action. And the transition to e-cooking, in some sense, represents that opportunity. A few years ago, at the 26th UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, the Honorable Prime Minister articulated a very bold vision of lifestyle for environment, where he called from people all over the world to engage in mindful and deliberate utilization of resources instead of mindless and destructive consumption. His bold vision, along with the activities that India has undertaken over the last few years, paves a pathway for integrating our environmental consciousness into a greater climate movement. In line with that vision and the activities that India has taken, the transition to e-cooking represents the innovation in technology combined with our environmental consciousness as well. It will enable the shift to a cleaner, greener, and more environmentally benign lifestyle or behavior, in this case, around e-cooking. India is poised for a radical and transformation revolution on e-cooking. Millions of Indians still rely on biomass and other traditional fuels as their primary source for cooking. Indoor air pollution from such types of cooking is one of the largest causes of death and a significant health hazard. Not to mention the discomfort that such cooking provides to these households and the cost that it brings. The potential for e-cooking, but isn't just limited to rural areas and where biomass or traditional fuels is being used. It is also highly relevant for urban areas, for households in urban areas, and for commercial kitchens in urban areas. Our own study from Europe suggests that the transition to e-cooking from natural-based cooking can also help improve indoor air quality quite significantly by removing carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and other indoor air pollutants. India's import dependence on natural gas is increasing and is one area where e-cooking can also help. The transition to e-cooking could shift millions of Indians to cleaner, safer, and affordable cooking. It can help reduce energy imports and also reduce our supply vulnerabilities. It could contribute significantly to reductions in indoor air quality and enhance the experience in the kitchen. Overall, The transition to e-cooking can increase the quality of life, can improve the quality of life, reduce CO2 emissions, and improve indoor air quality. The prerequisites for the transition on e-cooking are all in place. Igniting the transition to electric cooking now requires a greater emphasis on consumer awareness. BEE, for example, has now included induction hubs within the SNL program. This will not only provide consumers greater confidence and information about their products, but give them the ability to choose across the wide variety of products that are available. It will encourage additional product suppliers, which may also help to broaden the range of different types of available products, for instance, by trying to include or encourage the availability of multi-hubs induction cook stoves. New partnerships between stakeholders with a focus on customer-centric approaches is now essential to drive this energy transition. This is a great theme, and I'm glad you're here all with us. I'm very delighted that Mr. Ajay Tiwari, the Additional Secretary at the Ministry of Power, is here. Thank you, sir. He's undertaken to promote e-cooking. Welcome, ma'am. Also pleased to have with us Dr. Umesh Srivastava, the Indian representative from the Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Mr. Florian Postel from GIZ, Mr. Anil Mehta from SEMA, Ms. Shruti Diora from IntelliCap. Along with that, we are also very delighted to welcome Mr. Animesh Mishra from EESL, Mr. P.K. Mukherjee from CLASP, Mr. Anjala Horo from Dharma Life, Mr. Anil Desai from Flame O'Neill Technologies, Mr. Samrat Dasgupta from EKI, Mr. Sunil Mani from EEW, and we'll also be delighted to have a presentation from Mr. Abhishek Gupta, who's the GM at EESL.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thapa, for setting the tone for the meeting today. Your insights are truly valuable. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Sri Ajay Tiwari, Regional Secretary, Ministry of Power, Government of India. Mr. Vishal Thapa, Senior Director, CLASP, and all his colleagues, CLASP team, Mr. Milin Devle, Secretary B, other senior officers from BWE, colleagues, experts who have come. Just now Mr. Vishal has listed all of them: oil marketing company, think tanks, media personals, manufacturers, experts, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed pleasure that on this wonderful occasion of World Environment Day, we have come together in the morning, Monday morning, and then we are talking on a very, very important subject. In fact, the World Environment Day goes very, very many years back, when the first time when I participated in one of the essay competitions in the World Environment Day. That time, very few people knew 5th June is the World Environment Day. And of course, I got the first prize in the state, but that's a different issue. But that time I realized why this 5th June is actually important for all of us, for the citizens, for the population of this world and this planet. Because now we have been talking for the past at least 20 years plus after the Rio Summit, etc., UN Convention, and then all this Paris Agreement, plus 2 Pact, everything. And today, we have come to a very, very important juncture where now we are moving ahead with a very clear mission called life. And we are really thankful to CLASP and all other participants here that we are actually taking forward this life as part of our own effort, our own one step ahead in moving in this mission. So let me thank all of you for joining for this wonderful. We know what is electric cooking. There is hardly any science of it because we have been using it. The appliances which work on electric cooking are already there. They are there in this country, they are in the world. It is also not very difficult to even replicate them because even the consumers, most of them, they know, or even if they don't know, they can immediately know. It's not. So this is one intervention where very little further research or something is required. And when we started this work on electric cooking, maybe something around 2018 or 19, we came to the only barrier was perhaps the confidence in consumer about two things, that whether the appliances which are available will really work, or if there is something goes wrong, whether can be replaced or can be repaired or not. That was one thing. And of course, the other thing which is again a kind of apprehension is that whether are we in a position to cook most of the dishes which we do in a normal cooking or a normal cuisine, whether they can be also cooked on electric appliances. So these were the two very little, quite reliable. As I mentioned, this is not a very big equipment where there are so much of science available, so many parts, etc. Of course, there was some issue whether how much can be manufactured within India, how much can be we need to import, and maybe how can we actually scale our production so that we can increase the indigenized portion. So that's the challenge, but that can always happen in every intervention. But if I see that when we launched Go Electric campaign, and most of you are part of that, we had big challenge in terms of e-mobility. E-mobility having a complete infrastructure for EV charging, even though EV charging can be done at home, but yes, the EV charging infrastructure itself was a kind of a barrier which most of the consumers always perceive as it is a barrier. So they are refrained from purchasing an EV. The other thing is the cost of EV. Obviously, that was also one major reason. And most important, whether the production itself of those e-mobility or e-cars was a limited one. And there was a lot of science, there was a lot of improvements, software, battery issues, in even the fires, etc. But fortunately, all these impediments were not there in Go Electric campaigns. The second part, and which is very important part, which we are deliberating here, is the e-cooking. That's much more simpler. So perhaps the only thing which we need to start is the replication. We discussed with most of the institutional buyers the areas where we can actually replicate them or scale up them. So going from something around 2 to 3 hours of daily cooking, those kitchens or those locations where the cooking can happen to 6 hours, 8 hours or 10 hours, can be actually replaced. Or in fact, I have even given directions, don't call it as a replacement. Try to substitute 50%. If there are 20 burners, put aside the 10 burners and substitute by 10 burners or 10 hot plates or 10 induction hoods. So that the consumers can have choice. If he feels there is some issue, if he feels his dish cannot be cooked on electric cooking, he can immediately try for the remaining 50% burner. And there we can always estimate whether the consumer is happy or not. Is there any benefit for him in terms of safety, in terms of environment, as Mr. Vishal very rightly said, the clean environment, the ambience there, the safety issue, because, and of course, the time, and the electricity cost. So all these things should happen in those areas where we can have almost round the clock cooking, or at least if not round the clock, at least 10 to 12 hours of cooking. So those are our immediate priorities where we can substitute 50% without replacing it. We can just substitute and find out what is the consumer confidence there. So this is one step which all of you can perhaps help CLASP and BEE and all other entities who can actually replicate that. The second thing, which is a larger kind of a proposition where and touched by Mr. Vishal Kapoor also. If we talk about SDG 7, the SDG 7 talks The 7.1 talks about the modern energy for all, that is universal access. We still have about 700 million people, so 70 crore people in the world who do not have even the basic access to the energy. Second thing is the access to clean cooking for the as per SDG 7. So there are more than now 2.1 billion people who don't have the access to the clean cooking, and they are unfortunately exposed to harmful ways of cooking, which is again a threat to their life, and of course there are so many other issues. So if we talk as a globally, the SDG, the promotion to clean cooking, or in that regard, the promotion to electric cooking is also a kind of a natural way of moving ahead with the SDGs. And SDGs, as we all know, have to be achieved by 2030. That's the global pledge. And we need to contribute that. Now in India, when we have at least completed the first step, that is the universal access to all the households through electricity, and that's first part we have already achieved. The second part, the major things were done by oil marketing company, and they are all there as per the government's Ujjwala program. And we have also had access for LPG in most of the households in the country. But when we move one step ahead and promote the electric cooking, I'm sure we are going to a much cleaner environment, much safer environment, a kind of a hassle-free, because the energy comes to you through electricity, through your grid, through your sources, which in any case you are using for lighting, you are using for mobile charging, you are also using for fans, and very soon we would see that even the households will have TVs, refrigerators, etc. So when you can always use, this is one important, when you can always use so many other gadgets through electricity, which is now available at your home. So why not electric cooking? LPG we use only one purpose, that's cooking. LPG is a clean cooking, and we are using it for as a burner or through cooking. LPG we don't use for so many other things. Of course, in some houses we use LPG for electric heating, the water heating. That also should be actually slowly shifted to the electric heating or the geysers. But in electricity we are using it day-night. There are so many appliances of electricity. So why can't we add another one, that's electric cooking? So it's as simple as that. So in that way, if we really see, the electric cooking is actually a future, but in that case we have to move ahead. And here the consumer participation is very, very important. And that's why on today's World Environment Day, we should promote this culture of electric cooking. It will take step-by-step process. As I mentioned, we may call it a substitution. Even many experts recommended me that only promote electric cooking for reheating purpose, because most of the urbanized households, they do reheating a lot. So they cook at one time and they eat at some other time, and they do reheating. Even in reheating itself, there could be a 15-20% extra energy use, which can be minimized or optimized through electric cooking. So even if simple, perhaps most of us use microwave. So this could be a better option of reheating. So finally I can say that on this World Environment Day, the life movement can actually promote, if we talk about this electric cooking as one of the part of Go Electric campaign, and we should use electric cooking in the most possible and the best possible manner. And in this regard, I think we need to start from the urban households. Slowly we can move it to semi-urban, and then smaller township, tier 3, tier 4, and finally to rural. I'm sure today's deliberation will actually find solutions how to really move it ahead, and this will go a long way. As I mentioned, it could be a longer process, 3 to 5 years, but by 2030, I believe the electric cooking will be one of the best solution for the country like India.
I pledge to make all possible changes in my daily life to protect the environment. I also commit to continuously motivate my family, friends, and others about the importance of environmental friendly habits. अब हिंदी में इसे दोहराते हैं। मैं प्रतिज्ञा करती हूँ कि पर्यावरण को बचाने के लिए अपने दैनिक जीवन में हर संभव बदलाव लाऊंगी कि अपने परिवार, मित्रों और अन्य लोगों को पर्यावरण के अनुकूल आदतों और व्यवहारों के महत्व के विषय में सतत रूप से प्रेरित करूंगी। Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tiwari is an Indian Administrative Services Officer of the 1993 batch. He is presently Additional Secretary Ministry of Power looking after energy conservation, energy transition.
Shri Abhay Bakre ji, Director General of Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Shri Bishal Thapa ji, Senior Director of CLASP. Shri Milind Deore, Secretary of BE. My colleagues from Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Consumer Electronics and Appliances Manufacturing Association, GIZ, Energy Efficiency Services Limited, civil societies, residential welfare associations, consumer groups, manufacturers, industry representatives, ladies and gentlemen. I really feel privileged to be here on World Environment Day and a beautiful pledge that we have taken. I think I never saw such kind of pledge in my life, but today on World Environment Day, this has created a good vibe among ourselves for all Indians in the days to come. When we see e-cooking as a small intervention or a kind of, some people take it very lightly, but let me tell you, this has many dimensions to the families of India, from urban areas to rural areas, semi-rural areas, and our population being the biggest in the world, it makes the biggest impact on the world environment. We have been leader in the world environment. Whenever I go outside the country and attend various global platforms, we see that there is a talk of life, which is promoted by our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, lifestyle for environment. Nobody in the Western world knew that the changes in lifestyle can make a big change in the environment. We have been talking about energy transition in the context of climate change, that the temperature has risen, there has been a global warming, there has been the temperature rise, which is going to be 2 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. So we have been talking about energy transition all over the world, and India, let me tell you, has emerged as the leader in energy transition. Honorable Prime Minister in Glasgow, he announced the ambitions of the country in the form of big ambitions that we will add renewable energy to 500 gigawatt from the non-fossil sources plus renewable energy. 500 gigawatt by 2030 and having our renewable energy more than 50% of total installed capacity. So with this announcement, we are moving towards renewable energy. We are working day and night, and in fact we are going to cross the targets much earlier than what was actually announced. This is clear from our NDCs, which we achieved 9 years ahead in terms of the emission intensity, the carbon intensity, which had to be reduced by 35%, and it was reduced in 2021 itself. Similarly, achieving our RE targets. Coming back to India's position in energy transition, not only in terms of supply of energy, but also in terms of universal access. India is the country which in 18 months, just 18 months period, under Saubhagya scheme, gave connections to every household who were actually left out, and the number was astounding 26 million households. Never before in the history of the world, so many houses were given connections from the grid and some off grid also. Within 18 months, we achieved universal access, and this remains like an example in front of the world. As my colleague told you, 700 million people in the world, they still do not have access to energy, the electricity. Most of them in the African countries. In G20, this is one of the priorities of our country to take universal electricity access or energy access to all the households of the world. Not only in G20 countries, but also providing energy access to the entire world, to all the households. On Indian example, once we have this electricity connection to all the households, I think electric cooking is going to be the future of Indian kitchen. By 2030, I think we can have a target as to how many households we starting from the urban areas, then moving to semi-rural areas, and then further down to the rural areas. We can promote electric cooking because the technology is available, it has to be scaled up, and a model has to be developed in such a manner so that the electricity which is used, it comes from RE sources, so that there is an aggregation of carbon credits also. There is an aggregation model for selling the consumer appliances or electric chulhas to the households. But it has to work in such a manner, the whole business model has to work in such a manner that it becomes affordable to our population right from urban to rural areas. Of course, it will penetrate, it will take a few years, but it is the right time with the rising income of the urban households in the country and a big middle class which has come up. We all want to move towards electric cooking. Why? Because now we have 24/7 electricity in our houses. Let me tell you, 24/7, when we say in urban areas, you will be surprised to know that we are supplying electricity for 23.5 hours every day on an average. Half an hour is only for some local disruptions or something, you can say. In all the urban areas, it is 23.5 hours that we are supplying. This is itself is an achievement in itself. In the rural areas, also it is 23 hours, 23.5 hours in some rural areas that electricity is being supplied. Those days are gone when there were power cuts. Those days are gone when there were 4 hours, 6 hours, or even 10 hours of power cut in the urban areas. We have surpassed those milestones. And this is a big achievement. I think we should all be proud of it. I'll give you a small example. When I was going to Sydney with a minister, power minister, there was one old lady sitting by my side, 75 plus. She had left India long back, 40 years, and she had become Australian citizen. She keeps coming to Lucknow, she told me, and she said, now I want to live in my old village. I said, why, what has happened? He said, now I can put my AC on 24 hour. I can have fridge. I can have 53 centimeter TV, 53 inches TV. And everything is running well. I'm getting 24-hour supply in my village. I can get water supply because there is a electricity supply. And then of course Wi-Fi nowadays. So I said, then you should thank the power minister who is sitting on 1A. Please go to him and say your namaste to the power minister who has made it possible for you to come back to our country. We have a very good business and aggregation model. So all the manufacturers here, I would like to tell them, please don't be disheartened, push your product. We are ready for it. Now on the other side, let me tell you, from the ministry side, electric cooking is going to be our focus after success of Ujjwala. Ujjwala, if we see from one point of view, from the health point of view of our rural women, households, then we can also see the clean cooking. We can also see from the other side that is still we depend on gas. We do not have enough gas reserves in the country, as you know, which may be just good enough for urban gas supply for cooking. But it may not be sufficient for other uses, so we need to preserve gas and switch over to electricity. And of course, on the supply side, those sources of electricity have to be converted to RE, renewable energy, solar, wind, and hydro, and other forms of renewable energy. Now from Ujjwala, one success for which we are developing some models where affordability is the biggest question. Once there is a e-chulha or e-kitchen in the electric kitchen in the rural areas, where from the electricity comes. Of course, it will come from the grid, or it may be coming from the off-grid solar. So solar cooking or e-cooking or solar thermal cooking. These are the. You must be remembering that LED bulbs which were 300, 400 rupees at once upon a time, now we just buy for less than 100 rupees. Similarly, for electric bus program, they have brought down the cost and the price of electric bus model by 1/3. So this is how we are moving. I'll be very happy if it picks up in India as soon as possible. Within 2 or 3 years, it should cover all the urban areas. If we have standard models which are affordable, which consume less electricity, because more electricity they consume, I will have to produce, as an electric man, I have to produce more electricity. Last year, India's electricity consumption rose by 10.4%. If you are telling at that pace, consumption of electricity is rising, that also shows the corresponding growth in the country. And we have a growth trajectory which is very promising for the next few years, at least till 2030 if we see. And by 2030, we would like to cover as many households in the country by electric cooking. So that is going to add to the environment and the temperature rise that we talk about. The source and the consumption both have to be tackled simultaneously. That is how I see it. Exact and more importantly, we also have a lot of support from our advocacy groups. From Power Foundation of India, last year we ran a Lifestyle for Environment campaign where we also took to it. We were given the part of Agni, one of the Panchatattva of life.
For your valuable insights. Thank you very much for sharing your views, thoughts, and ideas with all of us. Your perspectives are truly enlightening. Ladies and gentlemen, we really hope and pray that the discussions which will follow today and those which have happened be beneficial to the entire humanity and we move towards a cleaner and greener future. As we move towards concluding the inaugural session, may I please invite Mr. Milind Deore, Secretary, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, to kindly please deliver the vote of thanks. Mr. Deore joined Bureau of Energy Efficiency as Secretary in April 2023, and prior to this, he was working as Director in BEE, leading a team for the implementation of Energy Conservation Act, policies and schemes of Government of India into industries and commercial sectors. Welcoming Mr. Milind Deore.
Very good morning, Suprabhat, respected dignitaries on the dais, esteemed guests, and dear participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is an immense pleasure for me to propose a vote of thanks for this today's conference on switch to electrical cooking, which is organized on the occasion of World Environment Day. On behalf of BE, I stand here to express our heartfelt gratitude and warm vote of thanks to all of you for gracing this event. First and foremost, we extend our sincere thanks to our Additional Chief Secretary, Sri Ajay Tiwari ji, who is also in charge for energy conservation activities in Ministry of Power. Sir, we thank you for sparing your valuable time and sharing your very insightful thoughts and clearly highlighting the need of e-cooking and also sensitizing in the current context of various facts. And really thank you, sir. And under your guidance, we will definitely take this as also one of the important scheme and program which will be implemented. Sir, your continuous support is there for energy efficiency and energy conservation, and we are always doing a good job. I also thank our Director General Sri Abhay Bhakre sir, who has initiated this thought for organizing this conference on this occasion of World Environment Day. At BE, we are mandated for energy conservation, energy efficiency, energy saving, but actually our source of energy to do this is our DG. So I really thank him for his continuous support and guidance to BE staff and leading the BE at very high level. Thank you, sir. I also thank the officials from DISCOMs, SDAs, and also from manufacturers, ESL, SEMA, Intellicap, IOCL, and various experts for joining this event at very short notice. I also special thanks to our partner, CLABS, and Mr. Vishal, Senior Director of CLABS, for organizing this event on behalf of BE. We would also like to extend our thank to all the media people who have joined here and going to spread this message about e-cooking and the actions about life. Dear friends, life, which is the mission announced by our Honorable PM, which is based on P3 model, that is pro-planet people, and it is premised on the basis of principle of lifestyle of the planet, for the planet, and by the planet. The main basic fundamental is that instead of mindless and destructive consumption, we should go for mindful and deliberate consumption or utilization. So you all are aware about it. The e-cooking, a lot of facts we learned from the previous speakers. I don't want to talk here because we have a very fantastic 2 sessions are there where we're going to learn about the necessity, challenges and issues of e-cooking. But in short, I just want to share here in our historical culture also, in our Sanskrit Vedas, some of the shlokas are there about the clean cooking, not Pak karoti rasam swadu anandam deti jivanaya Shuddham sa prakriti saurakshak atma sa samarpayat. The meaning of this shlokas I just find it out from the internet itself. I don't have much knowledge, but the meaning is that cooking creates delightful flavors, bringing joy to our lives, preserve purity in the nature, and offers yourself in a humble service. The important thing is that whatever action when we do the cooking, it should preserve our purity in the nature. And I hope this e-cooking, which is the main actions under the life mission, will definitely preserve our environment and also gives us healthy habits. So once again, we extend our sincere thanks to everyone for involved in making this event a remarkable success. Together, let us continue working towards greener, cleaner and more sustainable future. Thank you all. And
environment and bringing purity in cooking for a cleaner and sustainable future. Thank you very much, sir, for proposing the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, before finally concluding this inaugural session, may I please request Mr. Vishal Thapa to kindly please hand over tokens of respect and appreciation for each of our dignitaries on the dais. Insights, views, thoughts and ideas for all of us today. Thank you, Mr. Abhay Bakre, for joining us today, and Mr. Milind Deo being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, so back on your dedication.
बस ज़्यादा जिस तरह से इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी पे जा रही है, उसी तरह से गैस पे अपनी डिपेंडेंस कम करने के लिए फायर वुड पे जो पहले गाँवों में चलता था, उसके बाद हम उज्ज्वला पे आए, गैस पे आए, तो अब गैस पर भी डिपेंडेंस कम करने के लिए हम इलेक्ट्रिक कुकिंग पे मूव कर रहे हैं। इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी के साथ साथ इलेक्ट्रिक कुकिंग को भी उतना ही महत्वपूर्ण है। इसके लिए हमने कुछ प्रोग्राम भी डिज़ाइन करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, जिसमें कि एक तो है कि टेक्नोलॉजी हमारी मैच्योर हो चुकी है, इसको हम स्केलिंग अप कर देते हैं, एग्रीगेट कर देते हैं, इसकी डिमांड बढ़ा देते हैं, तो इसके प्राइसेस अफोर्डेबल हो जाएंगे।
भारत सरकार ने विद्युत मंत्रालय एक शुरुआत किया था गो इलेक्ट्रिक कैंपेन। गो इलेक्ट्रिक मतलब जहाँ भी अपने डे टू डे लाइफ में फॉसिल फ्यूल यूज़ करते हैं, जैसे कार में डीजल पेट्रोल, उसके अलावा घरों में LPG या CNG, तो क्यों ना हम इलेक्ट्रिक बेस्ड अप्लायंसेज यूज़ करते हैं। वो इलेक्ट्रिक मतलब हम जैसे इलेक्ट्रिक वाहनों का यूज़ कर सकते हैं, उसके अलावा कुकिंग के लिए इलेक्ट्रिक यूज़ कर सकते हैं। इसका ये फ़ायदा हुआ कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी में जब हमारा सौर ऊर्जा का प्रतिशत बढ़ रहा है, क्योंकि हमारा सौर ऊर्जा का एक लक्ष्य हम चाहते हैं कि जो नॉन फॉसिल फ्यूल को बढ़ावा दें, और जैसा कि 500 गीगावाट का टारगेट है 2030 का, उसके जो हमारे पर्यावरण के टारगेट है उसमें फ़ायदा होगा। तो इस दिशा में वो इलेक्ट्रिक का जो ई-कुकिंग का जो अध्याय है, वो आज के इस पर्यावरण दिवस पर शुरुआत होने जा रहा है। हम चाहते हैं कि देश में ई-कुकिंग को काफ़ी बढ़ावा, ये इसलिए है क्योंकि अब हर घर में बिजली पहुंच चुकी है, और क्योंकि बिजली में हम सभी तरह के उपकरण आज उपयोग में करते हैं, लाइट करते हैं, फैन को करते हैं, पंखे को करते हैं, इलेक्ट्रिक गीजर को करते हैं।
These are the kind of initiatives we are taking from our side. Thank you.
Somebody said that Indian was launched by Indian Oil in 1964. I was not born even at that point of time, but now that I am part of the development team for Surya Nutan, I am trying to gather how difficult my journey will be to propagate it or to commercialize it in the market. And I am told that even Indian LPG cylinders, in the first 3 to 4 years of their introduction to the market, were not being readily accepted. The numbers are 3 साल में 2000 नंबर, 2000 consumers बने थे initial 3 साल में. Another figure that I want to tell you is Indian Oil R&D got its first international award, WIPO award, on development of a energy efficient kerosene stove. Kerosene big stove, we named it as Nutan, and it was marketed in the country very widely. So therefore Surya Nutan has now come in. So at least sitting here, I feel that 65 to 85 when we got that award, it was 20 years. At least Surya Nutal will not have to cross this 20 years journey. It will be much less than 20 years at least. Because today people are more connected, there are more awareness, there are more tools, and there are many, lot of awareness about the environment, there is a lot of awareness about the various initiatives that everybody is taking, and people are ready to go out. So I feel if we can create some experience center, at least with Surya Nutal, this is what we are going to do. We are going to create few experience centers in rural India and urban India, and especially tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which are actually the early adopters of any good technology. You know why? Because they have time to think about themselves. Then there are maids who are actually governing our household, saying कि दीदी अब तो नहीं बना सकते, ये तो हम अपने हिसाब से ही बनाएंगे. ऐसा टियर 2 टियर 3 में होपफुली कम होता होगा, लेकिन मेट्रोज में थोड़ा ज़्यादा होता है. कंज्यूमर्स मेट्रो में है जिनके डीप पॉकेट्स है, वो दे सकते हैं उतना पैसा. सो आई एम श्योर this journey will not be too long. There will be a time, maybe 23, that we are sitting here. By 2030, definitely our Honorable Prime Minister has very rightly given this slogan of Mission Life, and very soon things will change. Thank you.
Policy intervention in terms of production-linked incentives, so that the production of such hops is in India and it does not benefit the neighboring country. So we need the direction and the support from the government, and the industry will put it in its best, because there have been a lot of other production-linked incentives like the LED and the air conditioner, which have been taken very positively, and a lot of investments have come into India, and product has been developed indigenously. Lot of import substitution has happened. So I believe we seek a similar kind of support from the government, so that import substitution can happen and production of these goods, which will now be in large numbers, not in lakhs, but maybe in crores, is done within the country.
Comment on that, Florian, Shruti, because you work a lot with the rural segment.
Yeah, I can just add something from our side, from what we've done with in GIZ itself. We did look at the household level, so we looked at the feeder level. So we did a good assessment, and we partnered with a discount in Odisha, and we selected 2 feeder. One was basically from an urban side, and one from a peri-urban. It was a rural feeder though that we selected. And with certain assumptions that we made, we used the real data that was available, and then tried to forecast that for the future. What happens if we add 30, 70, and 100% of households to electric cooking? What happens at the feeder level in the end? And what are potential mitigation measures in that as well? So, I mean, we've done much more often for a lot of other discounts and for a lot of other feeders. Because the results you might see are very different. So you probably go actually feeder by feeder in the end, and discount by discount, to really see what needs to be done. What we could see in our example is that with the urban feeder already being almost fully loaded, that there is no room to add the additional load of e-cooking onto that without any further investments onto that specific feeder. And again, you have that problem, so to say, that you cannot shift the electric cooking load. So these are just fixed hours that you have in your morning, afternoon, and evenings as well. You can try to shift other loads, but not the load for the cooking itself. The load in the afternoon is less of a problem, because that meets with the solar hours and solar production. So especially the morning and the evening hours that you have to consider. So the urban feeder, the rural feeder that we looked at was not fully loaded, so at least at the feeder level, the load of additional electric cooking could be handled there. But I think here we need to more look at the household level in the end. I think that was already mentioned earlier. If you have an induction cook stove of maybe 1,500, 2,000 watt, and you add this, is the kitchen itself being ready for this? And I think in many rural households, the answer would be no.
Cooking to e-cooking first, and in the meanwhile, while we look at increasing the grid capacity for us to be able to manage the load that comes on it if a lot of households start connecting to e-cooking at the same point of time. Another option which Sir Unish Sir shared as well is a solar-powered e-cooking, and that's coming up really big time. Which also has an online and offline option. So it has integrated solutions when you have access to solar power, you connect to that, and otherwise you can connect to the other source of electricity that you have. Neha, I just want to also comment on the earlier question that you made and ask a question to the audience here. We have a lot of manufacturers in the audience. I'd like to ask how many of y'all have more than 50% women in your entire value chain? That we are smart enough to understand their challenges and address them. And
Madam, I would differ here that I am into commercial cooking. So we make inductions where 1,000 meals or 2,000 meals are made in every session. I came from Bangalore yesterday night at 12 o'clock after opening 2 kitchens there. We are going to do 6 kitchens there. Now, I am just trying to tell you, when it comes to industrial production, it is not like a small 2 kilowatt induction where lot of components are required, which needs lot of precision and all that. So, making a commercial induction is altogether a different ball game. We make inductions up to 20 kilowatt, 30 kilowatt, for 50 kilowatt per unit. So don't relate these two things.
so I think you are also reiterating my point. It's easier to shift to industrial and commercial because we have viable solutions there.
That you are right.
Where you don't have a lot of women users, right? And when we're talking about shifting households where women are the primary users, we don't have an understanding of their challenges as deeply as we need to have. So we need to include women in innovation, research and development, and also distribution of the products that we are making to ensure the adoption and the behavior change challenges that we've been talking about.
I would add to this.
Yes.
I have a chef here.
Okay.
Now, how many chefs are there in hospitality industry who are females? They have increased only of late.
Yes.
So the only purpose or the only motivation for me to shift, because I have done domestic cooking induction 4 years back, for 4 years in 2009, 10, 11 and 12. Hardly people knew what is induction. And I used to go and convince the ladies in the house by cooking in their houses. Now, the only purpose of shifting was that it is very easy to convince a male compared to a female.
So because looks like you're
I'll tell you. No. We will go.
so glad
we
that
will
you're
go-
reiterating my point
we will
again
go-
and again.
I know. वो लेडी जो बचपन से अपनी माता को जब वो क्रॉल कर रही थी तब से देख रही है कि गैस कैसे चालू करना है, ठीक है? So you people who are sitting on the dais possibly have seen only those inductions which are imported from China, which has got hot pot, temperature, voltage, blah blah blah. Okay, that's not how commercial inductions are made. Commercial inductions are with volume type, push in, push off, on, off, बढ़ाओ, कम करो, बात खत्म हो गई. So वो डोमेस्टिक में आ सकता है, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, since you have been telling me. Now, if you attend the second session, you will learn more. I think I'll end here, please.
So things can happen faster in institutional and commercial organizations. But if we want that shift to happen at the domestic household levels, both rural and urban, we will need to have more females in the entire value chain. right from understanding what are the needs of the consumer and why is this challenge of the shift not happening, and then producing Indian context products which answer to the different cooking requirements and the cuisines of all the different cultures at a household level again. Right? So, and for the behavior change, if you will have a women do that at the household level, that will be acceptable a lot more versus a distribution which is at my probably a main number. So yeah, that was my only point.
So I do actually mention that it's easy to adopt in commercial sector rather than in domestic sector, and it's not about gender. It's about the the mindset of the people, whether it's a man or a woman, it doesn't matter, because in urban sector and in the commercial sector, most of the chefs are men. So, and if he is a chef, obviously he is a learned person, means I'm literate and a very educated person. So it's easy to convince him. And in the domestic sector, in the rural segment, most of the women in our country are not that educated. So it will be difficult to convince them. So that is the difference. Not like, I don't agree, sir. It's very easy to convince a man rather than a woman. Not at all.
Convincing a lady and convincing
And I also
Sir,
and her point was that if a lady and if the woman is involved in the R&D process, she can better experience because 99% of our cook are women. How many chefs are in our country and how many cooking or how many women in the house?
I see Panasonic, I see Philips, I see Sriram, I see Bajaj, I see so many. I don't know what to buy.
March 2023. So right now required for a boiling time, and Mr. Mukherjee is here. He is actually our pioneer in the standards making process, and he helps from class to actually bring up with our standard performance standard for any kind of appliances we want to introduce in the standards enabling program. So recently we have introduced these standards 1 star to 5 star, and we have mentioned that what should be the energy consumption for 1 star, what should be the energy consumption for 2 star, 3 star, and 4 star and 5 star. So whenever you will go to the market, now you will not get it, sir, because manufacturers have not started registering in our portal. And I would like to appeal the manufacturers, please start registering in SNL portal so that it would be available in the market, and people will get to know what are the energy efficient options available.